Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'll be going through my team selection ahead of Game Week 20. This is probably the shortest turnaround we have. There literally isn't even a day in between the fixtures from Game Week 19 and the fixtures from Game Week 20. Therefore, with fixtures still going for Game Week 19, we are going to still record this video and put it out, and hopefully you guys still enjoy it. If you are enjoying the content here on this channel, please do remember to like, comment and subscribe. I really do appreciate the support. But without further ado, let's jump into today's video. So guys, before we jump into today's video, I just wanted to give a massive shout out to the legends over at OneFootball for being the official sponsors of the team selection videos here on this channel. If you are new to the channel or you just don't know who OneFootball are, they are the best free football application on the market. They have everything you need, whether it be injury news, press conference updates, transfer news, you want a live ticker and live notifications during the game, you want different stats, red cards, yellow cards, goals and assists, whatever you want, OneFootball will have you covered. And it's very, very useful with all the postponements happening at the moment and you constantly wanting news about which games are going ahead. OneFootball are fantastic to have as your companion app. So if you do want to download the best free football app on the market and you also want to help support the channel as well, you can do both of those things for free by scanning the QR code in the top left corner of the screen or clicking the link in the description. If you do so, you're supporting me, you're getting a great app. If you do download OneFootball, let me know what you think of it down below. So guys, I just want to start by saying apologies if I do sound slightly different or slightly weird. I've been incredibly ill for 3 or 4 days now. My ears are completely blocked, my nose is blocked, so I can't actually hear what my voice sounds like. So I do sound really weird. I do apologize, but I'll get through it and I'll be fine. And I still want to get the content out for you guys. So here I am. Game Week 19 is still ongoing. It's one of those weird ones where Game Week 20 starts literally the day after Game Week 19 ends, and therefore I can't wait for Game Week 19 to end to put out the video. Otherwise, it would only get like a couple of hours being out there for you guys. So I'm going to put the video out before the final game. Obviously, the final game this evening is Manchester United versus Newcastle. I've got 2 Manchester United players, and I really need them to perform because, to be honest, it's not been a very good week for me. I'm on 41 points -4, so 37 net points. However, there are a few things to note. The first thing is I didn't decide to play the free hit. So I've saved my free hit, so I still have 2 of them. And I am happy with my decision. The reason that I decided not to play the free hit is I was looking at a lot of free hit drafts. I was looking at the sort of team that I wanted to put out. And it was very similar to the team that I already have. Yes, there were a few key changes. For example, I'd quite have liked to have Son in there. I would have had Tierney in there, unfortunately. I wanted to have Mahrez in there ahead of potentially... It probably would have been ahead of Gundogan. I would have kept Foden. So there were a few players that I did want in there. But generally speaking, the structure was the same. I would have had Cancelo, James and Dalot. I would have kept Ramsdale in goal. I would have had Bowen, Lacazette, Ronaldo. I did still want to keep Antonio, even though I wasn't sure he was going to start. So I was comparing the free hit next to my team. And I think with the free hit, what you need to think about is, are you changing your team enough to warrant playing the chip? And for me, I just wasn't. I feel like I could use the free hit better in double Game Week 22 and blank Game Week 30. Or again, as I've said in the past, just keep that free hit as a get out of jail free card. I've now still got 2 free hits, so I can still use a free hit in 22 or 30. If you haven't watched my chip strategy video, by the way, go do that. It's my 2 videos ago, I released a chip strategy video where I talked about the different blanks and doubles. But I can either keep it in my back pocket or I can play it in a blank and a double or potentially just attack 2 doubles at the end of the season. So I'm really happy. I think if you played the free hit, generally speaking, you've probably done well. Like I said, the likes of Tierney, Saka, Kane, Son, there are a lot of template free hit players did well. De Bruyne is another one as well. But I don't necessarily think everyone that played the free hit did very well, because I've seen a few people that played the free hit that are on a similar amount of points to me. So if you did play the free hit and it didn't go according to plan, that's part and parcel of playing the free hit. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't. With respect to how my team have actually performed, pretty much like every player in my team has got some kind of return. They've just not got a lot of them. So Bowen got a single assist, Martinelli got a clean sheet point, Antonio got a single assist, Gundogan got a goal with no bonus points, Cancelo got a single assist with no clean sheet, Ramsdale got a clean sheet but no save points. So a lot of my team have done quite well, but they just didn't get those multiple returns. And unfortunately, some of the players with really high ownership in and around my rank did well. So Son got a goal, Saka got the brace, obviously in and around my ownership here. I think it's about 30% ownership in and around my rank. So a lot of the players that I don't own did really well. And a lot of the players that I do own did well, but not very, very well indeed. So what I'm left with, I think at the moment I'm around 65k. So I've got a pretty hefty red arrow, about 20k red arrow down to about 65k. But I have Diogo Dalot, who hopefully is going to start, although I've got a really sneaky suspicion it might be Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And then I've got Ronaldo captain. So I'm around 10 points off the safety score, which means I'm 10 points away from getting a grey arrow. So really, I need a clean sheet and some bonus from Dalot, or I need an attacking return from Ronaldo. Preferably 2 from him would be fantastic. If that is the case, I might end up with a small green or a small red, but realistically, it's probably going to be a pretty big red. But because I kept the free hit, I'm pretty happy with that. You don't expect really a green arrow when everyone else around you is playing the free hit. You expect to get a pretty big red arrow anyway. So I'm perfectly happy with that. I do have Livramento on the bench. If the game is called off tonight for some reason, I'll get 1 point off the bench and I'll get vice captain Lacazette 11 points. So I'll be 12 points better off if the game is called off. So it's not the end of the world, but to be honest, I want the game to go ahead. I want Manchester United to win as a Manchester United fan, and I want Ronaldo and Dalot to do very, very well. So that's the way the team has performed in Game Week 19. 1 game left. Hopefully, it'll end up on a small green arrow, but I'm not very, very hopeful. Let's take a look at my team ahead of Game Week 20. So let's jump into having a look at how the team looks currently with no transfers having been made. I've got 1 free transfer, 0.7 million in the bank. I'll then take a look at my watch list as I always do, and I'll do a bit of a live tinker at the end where I go through some of the different transfer plans depending on if any games are postponed. I could also use my free hit. Of course, I didn't use it in Game Week 19, so I've still got 2 free hits. So if any other games are called off, potentially if like the Liverpool game's called off again or something like that, or as the City game's got triple City, I probably would end up having to just play the free hit anyway. So Ramsdale is the major issue this week. Obviously, if you haven't seen already, the Arsenal-Wolves game has been postponed. I've got triple Arsenal. Now, I can probably get away with benching Lacazette and Martinelli if I really need to, but obviously, because I have Foster as my second keeper, I can't get away with benching Ramsdale. So I've either got to transfer out Ramsdale as part of I was using my free transfer as part of a hit, or I just play with 10 players, which I don't think is the end of the world. The reason that I am looking to transfer out Ramsdale potentially, though, is in the next 8 fixtures, Arsenal blank 3 times, which is a bit of an issue. So they only have 5 fixtures in the next 8. Potentially, they could have a double game week in 22, so they might have 6 fixtures in the next 8. But still, there are, for example, De Gea or Lloris. They could potentially have 9 or 10 fixtures in the next 8 game weeks, which obviously, even however good Ramsdale's been, you would prefer to have a keeper with an extra 4 or 5 fixtures in there. So I am looking to potentially move Ramsdale to De Gea or Lloris. The other option, if I can get the funds for it, is to move Foster to someone like Backman, Gaeta, or even potentially De Gea and Lloris as well, and have 2 pretty good keepers in there. I do think at the moment, with everything going on with COVID, it might be worthwhile having 2 playing keepers. You could go, like I said, have Ramsdale as your main keeper and then get like a Backman in, because they probably have a good double in 22 as like a backup keeper. Or you just go for 2 really good keepers and you just assume that COVID's going to keep interfering, and then at least each week you should potentially have 1 good keeper each week. And I think my likely keeper would be De Gea to either have instead of Ramsdale or alongside Ramsdale instead. With respect to the defence, I'm really, really happy with it. James, I do think sooner rather than later, especially with the Club World Cup coming up and the fact that they're unlikely to have that many doubles coming up as well, at least in the short term, I do think that James could be transferred out soon. I think I'll keep him for a couple more weeks. I'll probably keep him in the lead up to double game week 22, because I just don't think he's a priority transfer out, especially with everything happening with games being called off. If the Chelsea game was to be called off in some of the coming game weeks, I'd probably get rid of James and just stay without a Chelsea defender. I don't think they look as good as they once did. However, if you look at the Villa game as an example, it was 1 free cone goal, and outside of that, Villa didn't get that many opportunities. So I don't think that Chelsea defence is an issue, but I also don't think that they're as essential as they once were a few weeks ago. Cancelo's obviously fantastic. Trent is obviously fantastic. There was no way I was removing Trent. I did remove Salah, as we'll discuss in a section, but the likes of Trent, I just think he's so, so good. And they now will probably have a double game week in 22, so I really don't mind keeping Trent in there for the foreseeable future. Dalot could be an issue. I'd like to see if Wan-Bissaka starts tonight. So you guys, when you watch this, you might already know if you're watching this after the Manchester United game. Dalot, if he starts tonight, I don't know if that will make me more confident that he'll start the Burnley game, or if I think he's going to be rotated with Wan-Bissaka. I don't know what the ideal scenario is. Maybe him playing like 60, 70 minutes and then getting subbed off after having a great performance. That might be the ideal scenario. But I guess I just got to accept that he might get rotated with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. If Wan-Bissaka starts tonight, I would worry that that means he's first choice, and then potentially that might be an issue that I have to deal with as well. I've got Livramento on the bench. Obviously, Southampton are playing against Tottenham, so it's not an ideal fixture, but at the time of recording, that game's going ahead, and it's nice to at least having a playing defender, so I'm unlikely to remove Livramento for the time being. I did want to remove Livramento because I just don't think the Southampton moving forward are the best team to own. But at the moment, a player that is playing in any fixture is like a gold mine. So I'm not going to be transferring out Livramento whilst he's still got games. So that is the defence. Ramsdale, the major issue there. Dalot could potentially become an issue if he's rotated with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And then James is more of a long-term potential transfer out. But Cancelo and Trent are absolutely fine for the foreseeable future. Let's take a look at the midfield. So I feel incredibly naked without Salah in the team. There's a massive hole left where I've sold him. I'm not the only one that sold him, and I still back my decision. I knew that I would not have him against Leicester, although watching how poor Leicester were once again, it does worry me that I don't own Salah. I'll be honest, if I free hit, he'll be back in my team, and he'll probably be my captain. I'm not going to be transferring him back in unless potentially Ronaldo and Manchester United don't play in Game Week 20, and we know that before the deadline. I might reverse that transfer back. But I do think that Ronaldo can get close, hopefully, to what Salah gets. And I do think I have some other good captaincy options in my team. So, yes, I'd like to own Salah, but no, I'm not too worried about it. If he scores a hat-trick, he scores a hat-trick. There's not a lot I can do about it at this stage. I've already sold him. So, at the moment, my captaincy then is on his teammate, Diogo Jota. Now, we've said for a while, every single week, Diogo Jota's expected goal involvement and all of his underlying statistics, apart from maybe touches in the box, are comparable to Salah. It's just that he doesn't tend to finish that many opportunities. Salah is in incredible form. He has been all season. He's so consistent as well, and you can rely on him. And also, he's on penalties as well. So there are multiple further reasons to captain Salah ahead of Jota. But when you don't own Salah, I do think that Jota's a decent captaincy shout. My main issue with captaining Jota is that I just don't know for certain that the front three won't be Mane, Firmino and Salah. I do worry that Jota could potentially be sat on the bench. We know he can do damage off the bench, but that does worry me about captaining him. But pretty much every player in my team, apart from maybe Trent, I do worry that they might be benched because it's midweek games. So much going on at the moment with COVID, with postponements. You don't know which of your players are going to play, which aren't. So I don't think there's anyone apart from the likes of Salah and Trent that you're so confident they're going to start. And even so, you just never know. So I suppose Jota is probably the best captaincy option in my team at the moment alongside Ronaldo. So at the moment, the armband is on him. I just need to take a little bit more look at the underlying statistics about where the teams are conceding chances from, etc. I'll probably end up just going with my gut feeling. At the moment, my gut feeling is that Jota could be a fantastic captaincy option. The rest of the midfield, I'm perfectly happy with for the time being. Bowen is in there as well. There is slight worry that the game could be called off against Watford, the West Ham Watford game. If that is the case, I'd probably free hit. I would, because I've got triple Arsenal out. I'd have double West Ham out. I'd have Gundogan, who's just played 90 minutes. Foden potentially still being punished. Dalot might lose out. It looks like a really, really tough game week if I don't free hit, if any of the other games are called off. So if, for example, the Watford West Ham game is called off or the City game is called off, I'll probably end up free hitting. But I'm happy having Bowen in there. He looked pretty decent. His underlying statistics are still pretty good. I do think that he plays better when Antonio is in the team. So despite the fact that this means he won't be up top when Antonio's back, I think that actually benefits him, to be honest. And then Foden and Gundogan are potential issues in my team. Like I said, Gundogan I still don't think is first choice for Pep, despite looking absolutely fantastic every time he plays. So the fact that he did play the majority of the minutes in the game in Game Week 19, and also the fact that Foden and Grealish might potentially be coming back into the team, I do think that Gundogan could be benched. And then Foden might still continue to be punished by Pep. We don't know how long this punishment's going to last of him going out and all the antics with that. So it might be that Pep just continues to punish him for 5, 6, 7 games. He came off the bench. He looked okay. So I assume the fact that he played some minutes suggests to me that Pep is done with that punishment and that the 2 games was enough. But you just don't know that. So it could be another game week where I'm stuck with Foden and Gundogan off the bench, which could become an issue. So long term, I'd like to offload Gundogan and Foden, but for the time being, like I said, when I've got triple Arsenal out, potentially I've got no goalkeeper, it just seems unwise to be using my free transfers on Foden and Gundogan. The only reason I would is that I desperately want Son in my team. I'd love Son for the upcoming period, for all the doubles they've got coming up. I really, really want Son in my team. So the only potential way to do that really is to get rid of Foden. Maybe Gundogan, but Foden's more expensive. So if I get any inkling that that punishment is still ongoing, I might end up doing Foden's Gundogan, but I'll likely be keeping the 2-Man City boys for another week. Somewhere where I could use a free transfer is Martinelli. Of course, they're missing this game week against Wolves. Then there's some tricky fixtures coming up. Yes, they should have potentially one double, but like similarly to Ramsdale, they've got 3 blanks in the next 8 game weeks. So I'm looking to offload at least 2 of my Arsenal players. I think Lacazette and Ramsdale make the most sense because Martinelli's so cheap, but there are some good cheap options in and around that. Someone like Damari Gray might be a fantastic option. If I can spread to Lucas Moura, he's looked fantastic recently as well. So there are some other options in and around that price. I think Martinelli and Lacazette being transferred out makes more sense than the likes of Foden and Gundogan. But do let me know down below if you think I should just bite the bullet, get rid of Foden, get rid of Gundogan, because they are creating some serious issues every week, especially with all the postponements going on. Now, assuming the games go ahead, I'm very happy with my front 2. Antonio, Ronaldo, both got great fixtures. Antonio obviously got his first goal in a while in Game Week 19, so hopefully that sparks something back up in him ahead of the double game weeks, ahead of the nicer fixtures. So I'm perfectly happy having both Bowen and Antonio. Yes, West Ham have struggled. I don't think they've won a game in the last five weeks now, or the last 5 games. So that is a slight issue, but they are still scoring goals. Not a lot of them, but they are still scoring goals. And I do hope that now Antonio's back and now that Antonio has scored again, hopefully that will trigger something not only in Antonio, but also in West Ham as well, and they start to find some form again. So I'm happy enough owning him for the time being, but there are some other strikers which are starting to turn my eye a little bit, such as Calvert-Lewin, who we'll discuss in the next section. And then I've got Ronaldo as well. Ronaldo could potentially be my captaincy. At the moment, it is pretty much a 50-50 for me between Jota and Ronaldo. For me, the reason I was considering captaining Ronaldo is I was like, I just don't know that Jota's going to start. Jota could quite easily be on the bench. I know Ronaldo's going to start. And then I thought, do I know that Ronaldo's going to start? There's not that much of a gap between the game weeks. We know that Ronaldo can be benched. We've seen it before under Solskjaer. So I'm not 100% sure even that Ronaldo starts. And therefore, if I'm looking at the statistics, if I'm looking at the defences to target, I'm looking at how good Liverpool versus Manchester United have been, Jota is probably the sensible captaincy option. So I'm still 50-50 between the two. I'm really not sure which way I'm going to go, but I do think that they're the two clear-cut captaincy options in my team. Outside of Antonio and Ronaldo, I've got Lacazette on the bench. And like I said, almost definitely Lacazette will be the transfer out this week. He's done really well for me. I think he's got 3 attacking returns in 2 weeks. So I'm not too displeased about that. But with the blanks coming up, with the fact that he's quite expensive and just sitting there on my bench, and with the fact that I do potentially want Calvert-Lewin, I think Lacazette will potentially be making way for me this week. I think Lacazette and Ramsdale, potentially Lacazette and Martinelli, potentially all 3 of them, or potentially the free hit as well. So I've got a lot of different options, but I think Lacazette is involved in all of those transfer combinations. So that is the team. Like I said, big red arrow so far, but I've got Ronaldo and Dalot still to play this week. With respect to the upcoming game week, the Arsenal game being called off is a little bit of an issue, but at the time of recording, I've still got 10 players in my starting 11. I've got Livramento on the bench, and I could just play without a keeper. So if it stayed like this, I could roll a transfer. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't see that many issues in the team. I don't think there's a major issue with playing without a keeper. I am likely to probably take another -4, though. Just to cover that bench, I'd probably take out Lacazette and Ramsdale, potentially Lacazette and Martinelli, like I said, potentially all 3. But I'm pretty happy with the team going into next week. Let's take a look at my watch list now and then do a bit of a live tinker as well. So just a quick little discussion about which players are currently on my watch list. This does change hour by hour. More research I do, different combinations that I think about. But at the time of recording, I've tried to minimize this, not only for myself, but also for you guys. And I think this is wise to try and do because at the moment, with chips being played, with so many players being out due to postponements, COVID, injuries, rotation, everything going on, there are so many different combinations of things we can think about. And you will drive yourself crazy and you'll end up making a rash decision because you're so overwhelmed with all the different options and different permutations and combinations, etc. So what I advise you do is try and minimize, try and cut it down to really what do you want to do with your team? Who are the players that you're already considering? So for me, I think it's very clear transferring in a goalkeeper is a good idea for me this week. I don't know if that'll be for Foster or Ramsdale. I think taking out Ramsdale makes sense because it means less money invested into the goalkeeping spot. However, I think it might be worthwhile having two playing goalkeepers at the moment. I just think that that's sensible with COVID, with double game weeks. I might want to bench boost in 22 potentially. So I think having 2 keepers might be worthwhile there. I haven't got Backman on this list just because I really don't want a Watford goalkeeper, but he's cheap and he's playing, and they've got a nice double game week coming up. However, I have just seen Ben Dinnery on Twitter. If you don't follow him, he's an injury analyst, injury expert. He's just said that Ben Foster is making recovery quicker than expected, is the quote, and he's back training now. So if he takes his spot back and I take out Foster and bring in Backman, I'm going to be very, very annoyed there. So I could potentially just take out Foster for one of De Gea or Lloris. I think I don't go De Gea just because he's a bit cheaper. Also, the fact that they've got double game weeks coming up, and outside of the double game weeks, the fixtures are really nice. But Lloris has got so many fixtures to be rearranged, so I think they'll have quite a few doubles coming up. And I just think he's a bit of a season keeper then potentially if I do want to wait and play my wild card later in the season. Or I just accept having one playing keeper and bring in De Gea or Lloris for Ramsdale. I think bringing him in for Foster would make more sense, but that is a lot of money invested. That's over 10 million then invested into my goalkeeping spots. I've only got one defender on there at the moment because I don't want to make any defensive transfers at the moment. If I was to, it would almost definitely be for Reguilon. I had Ben Davies on there, then he was randomly benched. I haven't actually looked into why that was. If you do know, let me know down below. I don't know if it was just standard rotation. Ben Davies has looked incredible, really cheap, really great option. So I don't know what happened there. Potentially Eric Dyer might be another good option, but I think I'll just try and pay the little bit extra for Reguilon just because he's basically playing as a left midfielder in this system. Looks really good going forward. He's great for bonus points as well, so I do really like Reguilon. With respect to the midfielders, Son is, of course, my number 1 target. He has been for a while now. I would have loved to have brought him in this week, but I prioritise Ronaldo. To be honest, the only way I can get Son in is downgrading someone elsewhere and then upgrading Foden. So it's a double transfer. It would require me to downgrade someone, which I don't really want to do, and then I'd have to take out Foden, which if he's playing, again, I don't really want to have to do. So Son's probably going to have to wait for me, and it's a similar story, therefore, with Rashford. I just can't really get up to those sort of players without selling one of my Man City boys. And at the moment, because they're playing and because they have such great upside when they do play, especially against someone like Brentford, I just don't really want to have to take them out. So realistically, the only option in midfield that I've got on my watch list here is Damari Gray, which is quite an easy transfer out. I've got Martinelli in my team. I've got a bit of money in the bank. So Martinelli to Damari Gray could be a great transfer. Everton have some great fixtures coming up, so I really don't mind that one there. So if I am to take out Martinelli, I think Damari Gray is probably the one I'd go for. And then with respect to the forwards, Damari Gray's teammate, colleague, DCL, is probably likely my transfer in for Lacazette this week. There's a few issues with Calvert-Lewin. Unfortunately, because the game was postponed in Game Week 19, we don't know how fit he is. I think he would have started. I think he would have got at least 60 minutes due to the issues they have, and we would have been able to see how good he looked. I still think he'll probably start in Game Week 20 if the game goes ahead, but that is the major issue for me. Rather than his fitness and rather than is he going to start, because I don't mind if he even gets 30 or 40 minutes off the bench, my number one concern is that I think they play on Thursday, Everton. They've obviously been absolutely demolished by COVID at the moment, according to Benitez. So I worry that that game's not going to go ahead. And the main worry for me is not only that the game's not going to go ahead, is that we won't know before the deadline. Because it's played so late on in Game Week 20 on Thursday, I just worry that we'll find out on sort of Wednesday that the game's not going to go ahead, and then I've wasted a transfer. I've got a player that's not got any fitness in his system. I've also got a player with a team that has been absolutely demolished by COVID. So I wonder if it's a bit too much of a risk, but I really do want him. And at the moment, I think I'm willing to take that risk. So at the moment, DCL is my number one priority in for Lacazette. In and around that, I've got a very, very expensive option in Harry Kane. I wouldn't mind having Harry Kane in there. I just don't know that I can afford him. Like I said, I'm struggling to get to the likes of Son in midfield. So getting to Kane up top is virtually impossible for me unless I downgrade Foden all the way to like a Gilmore, someone like that, and then I bring in Kane for Lacazette. I could do something like that, but I just don't think that that's wise at the moment, downgrading Foden to a non-playing or a cheap £4.5 million midfielder. And then I've got Broja. If I do want to downgrade one of my forward spots, I think Broja is a fantastic option, but I just think I would prefer to go for DCL and to keep a little bit of that money invested in the midfield. So those are the players on my watch list. At the moment, if I could choose any three players to bring in this week, it would be De Gea, Son, and DCL. I don't think I can afford Son, so at the moment, I'm looking at De Gea and DCL. And if I want to make a midfield transfer, I think it would be Damari Gray. Not sure if I want to double up on Everton just yet, though. So guys, this section won't be as long as usual. I'm just going to show you what my team would look like for the current week and maybe just go ahead towards Game Week 22 as well, just over the next few weeks. We don't know what's going to happen with the UK government, COVID, the Premier League, behind closed doors, pause in the season, AFCON. I don't know what's going on at the moment, but I'm just going to show you roughly what the team would look like with the planned transfers. Obviously, if further games are postponed, and I do have a feeling that the Watford-West Ham game will be postponed. I don't know that for certain. I've only seen a few rumours. There's nothing credible on that, but I've just got a sneaky suspicion. If that is the case, then obviously that completely changes stuff as well. So we'll discuss that a little bit as well. So what you can see on your screen is what my team will look like for Game Week 20 if I do Foster to De Gea and Lacazette to Calvert-Lewin. By the way, just for those of you that always ask, the website that I'm using right now is fpl.team. It's a completely free to use site, fpl.team. You type that in your URL bar and you'll come to this site, go onto the planning ahead feature and you can see what your team looks like for future game weeks. All you have to do is just type in your team ID. So this is the way that the team would look. So as I said, this is keeping Ramsdale and doing Foster to De Gea. This would leave me with 2 playing keepers. So I can do this with 0.1 million in the bank. I've just checked the 4 players, Foster, De Gea, Calvert-Lewin and Lacazette, the 4 players involved in that transfer. None of them look like they're going to change in price tonight. So I will be safe to leave this until tomorrow and I will still be able to afford it. 0.1 million in the bank. This would, if no other games are called off, which is never going to happen, but assuming all the games go ahead, this would leave me with 2 players on my bench. So to be honest, I don't even need to make the Calvert-Lewin transfer. I could potentially just play Dalot in. So if we just put Dalot in there and then imagine Calvert-Lewin is Lacazette. So I would still have Livramento on the bench and I'd be able to play Dalot against Burnley. The reason that I've decided to make the transfer is a number of reasons. Number one, I've got Gundogan and Foden. I don't expect both to play. And at the moment, Pep isn't even using all of his subs all the time. And when he does, they're quite strange subs. So even if Gundogan and Foden are on the bench, I don't necessarily think they're going to come off the bench. Dalot, I'm just not confident enough. Even if he starts tonight, I'm not confident enough he won't be rotated with Wan-Bissaka. And if Wan-Bissaka starts tonight, it might not be that Dalot plays midweek. It might therefore just be that Wan-Bissaka's first choice. So I do have a few worries in my team. And then games being postponed after the deadline as well, which could quite easily happen. With Manchester United and Everton both playing on Thursday night, I'm not confident enough to have only 1 player on my bench. So I think even if all the games go ahead, I'd still like to make that move. I'd like to have 2 players on my bench at least. So for the time being, I'm planning to bring in De Gea and Calvert-Lewin, probably for Foster and Lacazette, potentially for Ramsdale and Lacazette, but I think it will be for Foster, which will leave me with 2 playing keepers. What I could potentially do, I have exactly the money in the bank to do this because I still have 0.1 million in the bank, is I can take out Martinelli for Damari Gray. Now, like I said, the issue with this is that I think it's a big risk bringing in 2 Everton players when they play so late in Game Week 20. However, I do really like Damari Gray and Calvert-Lewin going forward. Despite how poor Everton have been, the fixtures are just really nice. They've got a couple of games to be rearranged as well. So they've not only got nice fixtures, they've got potential doubles as well. It would be a slight issue deciding who to play, therefore. I think what I would likely do is I would probably keep Damari Gray on the bench and just hope that my City boys play. But if not, I would have a full playing bench. That would be a -8 is the only thing. And as I've said at the moment, I'm not very keen on taking massive -8s. I'm just not confident enough that the games go ahead. I'm not confident enough that they pay it back in this week. And then we just don't know what's going to happen for future weeks. If the Everton game is called off, I'm going to look like an idiot for taking a -4 for a player that isn't playing. So for the time being, I think I'm likely to just keep Martinelli. We'll put him back on the bench, 3rd sub, therefore. Dallo would be 1st sub, and I think this is the way that I plan to go into Game Week 20 at the time of recording. If we just switch to Game Week 21, therefore, I like the fact that I've got De Gea in because I don't really want to play Ramsdale against City, so I've got De Gea against Wolves, which is a nice fixture. The back line is an absolute mess. The midfield is a mess as well. So Game Week 21 is a potential week to play your free hit if you haven't played any of your free hits before. Alternatively, if you want to play your early wild card, this could be a week to do it because there are, obviously, I don't think you would necessarily want Chelsea players moving forward. You might want to jump off of triple City and go into a single City, maybe just Cancelo or maybe go to a double. You might want to potentially get a stronger bench that you could bench the likes of Jota against Chelsea. So this is a week where you could free hit, you could wildcard, and that might potentially help. I'm not too fussed, though. I don't think the team looks that terrible. Livermore against Newcastle could be really nice. I might bring him in for James. I've got Dallo against Wolves, so if I really don't fancy some of these fixtures here, you might want to potentially take out Cancelo against Arsenal, but I'm not sure that's the wisest decision in the world. The front 3 looks really nice there. Ronaldo against Wolves, Antonio against Palace, Calvert-Lewin against Brighton. So, again, I would have a free transfer here to potentially use. I might want to roll it into double Game Week 22. It really does largely depend. Does double Game Week 22 go ahead? Are there any doubles in 21? And also, am I going to play my free hit in double Game Week 22 as well? It's definitely going to change as well. So, worth noting that between Game Week 21 and between Game Week 22, there are 14 days. There are 2 weeks between 21 and 22. So, I think getting through 21 relatively unscathed, if you can roll a free transfer, if you think you're going to play a chip between 21 and 22, then you're going to be absolutely fine. But that would be the way my team would look. I don't think many people would be able to field a very strong 11 in 21, just because City play Arsenal, Chelsea play Liverpool, Man United play Wolves, which isn't the easiest fixture in the world. So a lot of the key teams go up against each other. And then going into 22, you're going to lose Salah and Mane due to AFCON. You're going to lose a lot of players. Chelsea's fixtures continue to not look that great. They've got City and then they've got potential blanks as well. So I think at this point, you need to decide on your chip strategy. Do you want to play your wild card in 21? Do you want a free hit in 22? If you want a free hit in 22, you just completely skip 22 and you say, right, I'm going to field a full team of doublers. And I just go, because from 23 onwards, apologies, the team's looking really good here. So if I just set up my team, this is without making any transfers, of course. I can field a really, really strong 11 here. You could potentially play something like that. You can field a really strong 11, and then you've got free transfers moving forward as well. So it's all a bit up in the air to try and plan too far in advance. But I guess what I'm saying is I can field a fairly decent side in Game Week 20 with just a -4, assuming no other games are cancelled. So I'll just get it ready once more for you guys, just so that you can see exactly what the plan is. This is the plan going into Game Week 20. If any further games are called off, such as the Watford game, Watford-West Ham game. So if the Watford-West Ham game is called off, I'll just show you what I can field without making any transfers. So I don't necessarily think that I'll definitely free hit. But the issue that I've then got if that game is called off is I can only field 11 players. 10 players. I haven't got a goalkeeper. I don't own Salah. I've got Livermore against Tottenham, so it's not the best. I've got Foden and Gundogan as well. That would involve a risk with Calvert-Lewin. So I think if that game is called off, I would definitely consider the free hit. If that is the case, if you follow me over on Twitter, I'll be posting some free hit drafts. I'm not going to put a free hit draft together now because I just don't know what's going to happen in the next 24 hours. But if you follow me over on Twitter, I'll be talking about it all the time. At the moment, -4 to bring in De Gea, to bring in Calvert-Lewin. I think I'll likely keep Ramsdale. I'll keep Martinelli for the time being. And maybe next week, I'll do Martinelli to Damari Gray. Let me know down below, what are your plans for Game Week 20? Are you going to play your wild card? Are you playing your second free hit? Are you playing your first free hit? Or are you just going to try and roll with it and save those chips for later on in the season? I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts down below. So guys, there you have it. That is my Game Week 20 team selection video. At the moment, at the time of recording, currently planning to take a -4 and bring in De Gea and Calvert-Lewin. That could quite easily change over the next 24 hours. So do follow me over on Twitter for regular updates on that. Apologies that these videos are slightly messy at the moment. It's just with all of the deadlines being so close together, also due to COVID and all the postponements as well. It's an absolute mess. I know you guys appreciate it, and thank you for being so understanding and supportive of the channel anyway. If you would like to support the channel, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Those 3 things are absolutely free to do, and they all help support me in various ways. Another free thing to do is to download OneFootball. The link is in the description, or you can scan the QR code at the start of the video. If you're watching on your laptop, you can scan on your phone and you can download the app that way. Doing so helps to support me, and I genuinely do think it's a brilliant app, and I promise I do use it on a daily basis as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate you so very much. There'll be one more video, assuming the game week goes ahead, there'll be one more video left of 2021. So if you do want to support me, do subscribe, and we'll try and get as many subscribers in 2021, and we'll start a new year fresh together. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye.